Now, the country's efforts to fight gender-based violence continues. Government's GBV summit, hosted by President Cyril Ramaphosa, is set to begin tomorrow. Minister of Women and Children Maidengwana Mashabane briefed the media on the National Strategic Plan ahead of the summit. eNCA's Heidi Giokos is covering the story. She joins us now live from the GCIS offices in Pretoria. Heidi, the summit begins tomorrow. What is it exactly that the minister said would hopefully change the way that government deals with GBV at the moment?
Yes, Masako, I do think a number of things were touched on, specifically about how community, society, family members and friends also need to come together to call out gender-based violence. And when they hear their neighbors screaming or when they see gender-based violence happening in front of them, they should call it out and get authorities to act and intervene. Oftentimes you find people shying away from these situations and not really calling out GBV. So the minister, together with the Minister of Police, Begekele, really trying to highlight how there can be prevention rather than trying to deal with the aftermath, because we do know how horrific GBV is in this country. But we are joined by the DG for the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disability, Advocate Mikateko Maluleke. Thank you so much for your time, Advocate. We do appreciate it. I want us to speak about the significance of today's briefing and it being a day before the Gender-Based Violence Summit, where we will be seeing the President in attendance tomorrow. Why is it important for South Africans to understand how serious gender-based violence is and how this needs to be addressed urgently?
It is important that each and every person in South Africa understands, because gender-based violence is not something that started yesterday. It has been there for years, for a century or even more. So until we all understand that all of us have a role to play, it will not end. It will always be a fighting against the criminal justice system to say it is not prosecuting. But prosecuting doesn't prevent. Prevention is, it must not happen, because the person that they're prosecuting is already killed or raped or whatever. So what we need to do, or the role of each and everyone, would be to ensure that it doesn't happen. So if we understand how important it is and that it is deadly, then we'll understand that we have to stop it, because today it could be my daughter or it could be myself.
Oh, exactly, it could be you as an individual. I want us to speak about what message you want to send across to victims, or any woman or child out there watching this and saying, I don't have faith in the justice system, I don't have faith in our police, I don't have faith in our government to deal with GBV. And I had a discussion yesterday with an advocate saying that many of, for example, the police, the courts are under-resourced, and people turn away. They would rather just deal with their issues at home instead of actually seeking professional help or trying to get help from the police. You, as being in a very important department, what message are you sending to those people out there and those victims that are still probably struggling, waiting for DNA backlog or waiting for resources to help them?
There are many challenges, it's true. Those that are still waiting for DNA, you've heard today the minister saying they're improving, they've really reduced the case backlog. At least their matter will get an opportunity to go to court. There are those who tell you that I followed up and I found that the matter has been withdrawn, or the matter has been dismissed without me even knowing. Those are some of the things that we are working together. The National Strategic Plan is providing an opportunity for different sectors to be able to work together to say where are the backlogs, or where do victims fall through the cracks. So when the criminal justice system departments and our department work together, we're able to look at the cracks where people fall off. But I think there are different reasons why sometimes even the criminal justice system fails. Sometimes witnesses do not come forward to come and testify. I'm not blaming them. I'm saying you find that there are reasons. You're saying some people will wait until they walk away. There are many reasons. Those are the reasons that we want to address. Hence, the National Strategic Plan says we are looking at the multi-sectoral approach so that everyone plays a role. We are also establishing the rapid response teams in municipalities. So we've started with the 30 police stations where Minister Cele had identified as the police stations with a high rate of rape. We are establishing rapid response teams which would have members of the society, government departments, civil society, organization, traditional leaders, everyone, traditional leaders, every organization, so that all of them know what's happening, and if there is a rape or somebody doesn't find joy, they know where to go to talk to them, because sometimes the community says we don't know, we go to the police, we don't get the answers or whatever. So we're trying to come up with different mechanisms in order to address this. But more than anything, what I say is that gender-based violence must end, but also prevention. What is prevention? How do we teach our children? I always say we have young people captive for 12 to 13 years. If they start from grade R, you have them for 13 years. How can we inculcate the culture of no violence there to make sure that they understand that you can't steal your friend's pen because it starts there? They steal the pen, they come with the pen at home, you see that it's not their pen, you don't say anything tomorrow, they, involved in. So there's so many things that we need to do: prevention, response, care, but also prosecution.
And getting the community involved, I think that's very crucial. Thank you so much for your time, DG. We do appreciate it, and I think a lot more will come out of the Gender-Based Violence Summit that's expected tomorrow. I just want to highlight, Masego, and I don't think the DG is going to be happy with me, but there were a number of ministers that were also supposed to be present today, but we were told that they had other commitments. For example, Minister Lindiwe Zulu, Minister Mamoloko Kubai, and a number of other ministers that were supposed to be present, but hopefully they will be there tomorrow, because at the end of the day, it's all about working together to try and get to the bottom of this massive problem. Too many women and children are being murdered on a daily basis, and I think what's really ingrained in my head as a woman in this country is that big front page of the Sowetan where they said how many kids were murdered just in the first few months of 2022, which is, it's really unacceptable. So hopefully this summit will yield positive results and bring about the necessary solutions.
All right, Heidi Giokos live for us in Pretoria this afternoon.